My name is Elena Moore. I am 30 years old and my whole life is built on schedules, spreadsheets, and contingency plans. I am an operations manager for a regional grocery chain based just outside Columbus, Ohio. If a truck breaks down 3 states away, if produce gets stuck in a snowstorm, if a store manager calls in sick an hour before a Thanksgiving rush, it is my job to keep shelves stocked and customers calm. I live in a world of quiet crisis, moving pallets on a screen so people can pick up milk and bread and never think about how close they came to being disappointed. I do not scream to be heard. I do not slam doors. I make lists. I fix problems. I keep things moving. When I speak at work, people listen. For a long time, I thought that was enough in my personal life, too. My boyfriend Derek Cole lives in a different universe. He is 31 and he runs a self-improvement podcast and YouTube channel. He calls himself a content strategist. Translation. He spends his days filming himself, talking about healing boundaries and choosing light, then packaging his life into neat little pieces for strangers. There is always a camera, always a ring light, always a clip he is about to go viral with. He loves words like authenticity and vulnerability. I have seen his editing timeline. I know how many takes it takes him to look raw and real. Then there is Riley Shaw. She is officially his ex-girlfriend. In reality, she is the permanent featured guest in his life. She is a struggling singer-songwriter turned wellness coach, the kind of woman who wears big sweaters and no bra, talks about her inner child, and posts long captions about healing from betrayal while playing guitar in a messy bedroom. They dated in their early 20s back when we were both a mess, as Derek likes to say. According to him, their relationship was intense and toxic. According to everyone else, he was obsessed and she walked all over him. Now she is his sole friend, his words not mine. She gets my creative side, he told me the first time he brought her up. There is no romance, just history. You are my future. She is part of my story. Men like Derek love calling something history when they are still living inside it. The first time I met Riley, she walked into Derek's and my apartment like she had lost the key to her own place and decided ours would do. She hugged him long and tight, both arms wrapped around his neck, her fingers lingering in his hair. Then she turned to me with a bright, practiced smile. "You must be Elena," she said like she had been testing my name on her tongue for months. She brought his favorite cold brew, not mine. She kicked off her shoes and curled up on our couch, bare feet under my throw blanket laptop, open guitar on the floor. "Okay," she said, patting the cushion beside her. "Show me the outline for next week's episode, Dee." He grinned, dimples out, eyes lit up. He slid onto the couch next to her, shoulder to shoulder. Within 10 minutes, I was the outsider in my own living room. I am not naturally jealous. Growing up in a big family full of loud aunts and cousins, you learn quickly that if you fall apart every time someone picks the wrong side at Christmas dinner, you will never stop crying. You learn to watch, not react. So I watched. I watched how his voice softened when he spoke to her and grew impatient when he spoke to me. I watched how her stories always had him as a hero, the wise healer, the savior who showed her what real love looks like, even while he slept in my bed. I watched how the boundaries he preached in his videos turned strangely flexible whenever Riley needed something. My coworker and closest friend Marcus Grant saw the problem in one night. He is 35, a warehouse supervisor built like a lineman and soft as a sitcom dad. He met Derek and Riley once at a casual birthday cookout. On the drive home, Marcus leaned against my car, hands shoved into his jacket pockets. "That is not a best friend," he said. "That is an unpaid girlfriend with a selfie addiction." I laughed it off then. "You are being harsh," I told him. "They went through a lot together." Marcus shrugged. "Maybe. Just be careful. People who talk about healing all day can be the ones who cut you the deepest. They know which words puncture." At the time, I told myself he was just cynical. I did not know yet that one ordinary winter night, a patch of black ice and a phone call from a hospital bed would finally make all the data line up. And when it did, my revenge would not look like screaming or sabotage. It would look like silence. Loud, undeniable silence. 2 years into our relationship, Derek and I had developed a rhythm. He recorded his podcast in the second bedroom we called the studio, though it was mostly sound foam and a desk from a discount store. He filmed videos about betrayal, family drama, choosing yourself after being excluded. I made sure our bills were paid on time, that groceries were in the fridge, that we could actually afford the candles he liked to burn behind him while he talked about karma. Our lives overlapped at odd angles. I woke up first answering emails from store managers about broken freezers. He woke up later and went straight to his phone, scrolling through comments from strangers calling him inspiring. By mid-afternoon, I would be chasing down a truck that had gone missing between Indiana and Ohio. He would be brainstorming episode titles like, "My parents forgot my birthday, so I forgot them," or "When your family chooses your sister over you." He loved stories about inheritance wills, hidden truths. He loved talking about toxic parents, narcissistic brothers, dramatic Christmas confrontations. The irony was that my own family story was messy enough to fit right into his channel, but I never volunteered it. I did not tell him about the way my parents handled my grandmother's will, how my brother got the house, and I got "You are strong, you will be fine." I did not tell him how I watched my mother sob at the reading, then turn that pain into favoritism and manipulation, how family dinners turned into quiet wars. That was my drama, my inheritance of hurt, not content for his brand. Riley, though, gave him everything. She came over more and more that fall. Rehearsal season, Derek joked, as if her life were one long tour. She would show up in oversized sweaters and leggings, hair pulled into a messy bun, guitar case banging into the hallway walls. She sprawled on our rug, scribbling lyrics in a notebook while Derek hovered with a camera and ring light, helping her tell her story. Sometimes I would come home from a long day dealing with a broken freezer and a frantic store manager, and find Riley asleep on our couch under my grandmother's old quilt from before the will broke our family apart. Her bare feet stuck out from under the blanket. Her nail polish was chipped, her eyeliner half smudged. Derek would look at me and do that little shushing motion with his fingers. "She crashed here last night," he would whisper. "Her roommate had her boyfriend over. It was too much. She is exhausted. She has been grinding so hard, Elena. Can you watch TV in the bedroom? I do not want to wake her." Our apartment, which I paid half for, slowly turned into a set for their healing journey. Then one Saturday near Thanksgiving, it got worse. I was cleaning the bathroom when I saw it. A soft, pale green toothbrush with a tiny cracked star printed on the handle sitting in the cup next to mine and Derek's. Not a travel toothbrush, not something pulled from a bag. A toothbrush that had settled in. I stared at it for a long moment. It felt like a tiny flag staked in my territory. When I asked Derek about it that night, he laughed. "Please do not make this weird," he said. "She hates forgetting her toothbrush. It is just a toothbrush, Lee." The toothbrush did not bother me as much as his tone did. Dismissive, patronizing, as if I was some insecure teenager and not the woman keeping our entire life functional. A few days later, my family gathered at my parents' place for Thanksgiving dinner. Derek was supposed to come. My mother could not stand him, but my sister thought his stories about toxic families were hilarious. An hour before we were supposed to leave, Derek came out of the studio, eyes bright, phone in hand. "Babe, Riley just called," he said. "Her dad texted some awful message about her career, and she is spiraling. She wants to record an emergency live about family betrayal. This could be huge." It is literally a Thanksgiving family drama episode handed to us. I stared at him, the memory of my own family's will drama tugging at my chest. "We were supposed to be at my parents' 30 minutes ago," I said. He made a face. "They have never liked me anyway. You said yourself your dad called me that boy who talks to his phone. I will come for dessert. This is work. People need to hear this kind of truth in real time." In the end, I went to dinner alone. My mother pursed her lips at the empty seat beside me. My brother smirked. My aunt whispered just loud enough, "He talks about healing families but cannot show up for this one." I smiled tightly past the mashed potatoes and said nothing. On the way home, snow flurries dusted the windshield. I drove slowly, thinking about inheritance wills, favoritism, the night my grandmother's lawyer read out who got what, and my brother's name came up again and again while mine was barely there. Back then, I had told myself love mattered more than assets. Now, sitting in a quiet car with an untouched to-go plate of turkey next to me, I realized I had been repeating the same pattern in my relationship. My love was the asset. Derek was inheriting all of it while investing as little as he could. Riley was the favored child. I did not know it yet, but that Thanksgiving was my first real hint that I was not excluded by accident. I was excluded by design. The accident would only make it impossible to pretend otherwise. The night everything finally snapped was not dramatic on the surface. No storm, no sirens at first, just Ohio winter being itself. It was a Tuesday in January. A delivery fiasco had eaten my whole day. Two of our trucks had gotten stuck behind a jackknife semi on the interstate. A store manager called me crying because the holiday soda display collapsed and a customer slipped. The kind of little disasters that add up until your shoulders feel like they are fused to your ears. By the time I finished filing incident reports and calming everyone down, our office was mostly empty. The fluorescent lights hummed over rows of quiet desks. Snow tapped against the windows. Marcus leaned on my doorframe coat over his arm. "You planning to spend the night here?" he asked. Maybe I said, staring at my screen. "At least the copy machine does not ask me why I am overreacting." He snorted. "Come on. I will walk you to your car. I do not need my favorite manager breaking her neck in the parking lot. I still need you to sign my vacation requests." We rode the elevator down in silence. The parking lot was a flat sheet of glittering ice under the harsh lights. Marcus walked me to my sedan steady and slow. "You want me to follow you home?" he asked. "Nah," I said. "I am fine. It is 10 minutes. Go home, Marcus." He studied my face for a second like he wanted to argue, then stepped back. "Text me when you get in," he said. "And if that man of yours is not there waiting with hot chocolate and a space heater, I am filing a complaint." I promised I would text, climbed in the car, and turned the heater up. My phone buzzed as I pulled out of the lot. "Derek. Riley just got last-minute studio time," the text said. "We are heading downtown. Big night. Might be late." Proud of her. No question about where I was, if the roads were bad, if I needed anything. Just a broadcast, her big night again. I set the phone face down, focused on the road. Snow drifted lazily through the streetlights, not thick, just enough to make everything hazy. The streets near the warehouses were mostly empty. I took the route I always took, past the old train yard, across the wide intersection by the highway. The light turned green. I eased forward. The black pickup came from my left headlights a blur. The driver blew straight through his red light. Later, I would learn he had been texting his girlfriend. In that split second, my brain did what it always does with data. It processed. Truck, speed, ice, impact angle. I hit the brakes. The car slid. The world jolted sideways. The sound of metal colliding with metal tore through the quiet. My chest slammed forward into the seatbelt. My head snapped back, then forward. Glass shattered in a shower, sparkling like the snow. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but ringing, a high, thin whine in my ears. The airbag exploded in my face, hot and chemical, filling my nose with the smell of burnt plastic. Then sound rushed back, a horn blaring somewhere, someone shouting, my own ragged breathing. Pain bloomed across my ribs, sharp and bright. My hands shook on the steering wheel. The windshield was cracked in 1,000 directions, spider-webbed lines catching the streetlights. A woman appeared at my door, her breath puffing in cold clouds. "Do not move," she said, voice shaking. "I'm calling 911. I nodded, or thought I did. I could not tell. I focused on breathing in and out through the ache. The paramedics arrived fast. They asked my name. I answered. They asked if I could feel my legs. I could. They cut the seatbelt, eased me onto a board, slid me into the ambulance. As the siren wailed and the city streaked by, one ridiculous thought anchored itself in my head. Derek is going to freak out. He will rush to the hospital. He will finally choose me. Even lying there, strapped down, ribs screaming, I was still writing a kinder script for him than he had ever written for me. At the hospital, the air smelled like antibacterial wipes and metal. They slid me into a curtained cubicle, hooked me up to machines-ordered scans. The nurse, a woman with tired eyes and a no-nonsense tone, came back with the results. "Good news," she said. "Bruised ribs, mild concussion, some bruising from the seatbelt. Nothing broken. You are going to be sore, but you are lucky." Lucky, that was one word for it. She left me alone with my phone on the tray table. No missed calls. No frantic messages. Just a notification from Derek's podcast account, a scheduled upload going live when life knocks you down, stand up stronger. I hit his contact. He answered on the second ring, music and laughter roaring in the background. "Hey babe," he shouted. "Can I call you back? We are just about to record. The vibe is insane." "Where are you?" I asked. "Studio downtown," he said. Riley finally locked in some real time with this sound engineer. "We have candles, lights. It is a whole thing." "What is up?" "I was in a car accident," I said. "They brought me to the hospital." The music faltered. For a second there was only static and his ragged breathing. "Oh my God," he said. "Are you okay? Like really okay?" "Bruised ribs. Mild concussion," I said. "They say I will be fine." He went quiet for a moment. I could almost hear the gears turning. "So they are taking care of you, right?" he finally said. "You are with doctors. You are not alone." "No," I said. "I am not alone. Yet." "Babe, this sucks," he said, seriously. "But if you are stable, I cannot just bail on Riley right now. She is finally getting a shot to record these songs. We booked the studio time weeks ago. If I walk out, that is it for tonight. You know how much this means to her." There it was, the priority list, clear as ice. "I get it," I said quietly. "Would not want her to feel abandoned." He laughed uncertain, like he hoped I was joking, and decided I was. "I will be there first thing in the morning," he said. "I promise. I love you." "Sure," I answered. When the call ended, the room expanded around me. The monitor beeped steadily. Someone in the next cubicle coughed. A doctor joked with a nurse down the hall about a vending machine. My ribs hurt with every breath, but the pain that rooted itself deeper was not from the crash. It was from that single sentence, "I cannot bail on Riley." Not, "I cannot leave you alone in a hospital bed." Not, "I'm already in the car." Her, always her. Lying there in that narrow bed with my hair matted and my side throbbing, I realized something cold and clear. This was not an accident of priorities. This was a pattern. This was data. And I am very good with data. They released me just after sunrise. The world outside the automatic doors looked washed out and new. The snow on the sidewalks turned to dirty slush. The nurse offered me a wheelchair. I refused. Walking hurt. Every step sent a sharp complaint through my ribs, but I welcomed the pain. It made me feel solid, present, awake. When I stepped outside, I saw an old silver pickup idling near the curb. Marcus leaned against it, coffee in each hand. He took one look at me and shook his head. "You look terrible," he said. "Matches how I feel," I answered. He handed me a cup. "Black extra sugar," he said. "I figured they did not feed you anything edible in there." "Thank you," I said. He did not ask how Derek had taken the news. Not right away. Marcus is the kind of man who knows. Sometimes you need silence more than you need questions. He helped me into the truck, careful of my ribs. When he climbed behind the wheel, he gave me a sidelong look. "Did he come?" he asked finally. "He had plans," I said, my eyes on the hospital shrinking in the side mirror. Marcus blew out a long, slow breath. "Of course he did," he muttered. "You want me to hate him now or ease into it?" "Take your time," I said. "I am not renewing his lease." He huffed a short laugh but did not push. When we pulled into the parking lot of the apartment complex, my whole body felt like it had been wrung out and left to dry. Marcus parked and turned to me, and, "You want me to go up?" he asked. "No," I said. "I have to do this part myself." He nodded, though he did not look happy about it. "Call if you need anything," he said. "And I mean anything that does not involve going back to that man." "I hear you," I said. Inside the apartment was silent. No candles burning, no ring light hum, no Riley on the couch. Derek's equipment still stood in the corner, a tripod like a skeleton, headphones draped over a chair. His laptop sat open on the table, a paused frame of his face mid-sentence as he talked about boundaries. The blanket Riley always stole for her naps lay in a heap on the couch. My grandmother's quilt. The one thing I got from that messy inheritance that actually felt like love. I stood in the doorway for a long moment. No tears, no shaking rage, just clarity. I went to the bedroom, dragged my suitcase from the closet, and opened it on the bed. I packed like I was on autopilot. Work clothes, jeans, sweaters, socks. Every item I had bought with my own money. My emergency savings had always been mine alone. I had kept that boundary without even realizing I was preparing for this. My ribs complained when I bent. I ignored them. Next, the bathroom. My face in the mirror looked pale, eyes shadowed, a faint bruise rising where the airbag had caught my cheek. I gathered my toothbrush, my skincare, my makeup, the little jar of face cream Derek liked to steal. The pale green toothbrush with the cracked star sat in the cup, Riley's quiet little flag. I did not touch it. I did not smash it or throw it away. I left it right where it was. Then I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started cutting every thread that tied Derek to my life in ways that mattered. The internet and utilities were in my name. Derek had insisted his credit was complicated. At the time, I thought I was being supportive by putting everything under my accounts. Now that decision felt like a weapon, but not against him. It was a tool for me. I logged into the internet provider's site, canceled the service effective at the end of the month, scheduled equipment pickup, electric and water next, termination notices submitted, already paid through the next 30 days, our shared phone plan. I removed his line, turned my solo account back into just mine. His phone would stop working within minutes. The joint credit card we rarely used but had just in case. I reported it lost. A new card with only my name would arrive at my new address. The lease. We were 3 months out from renewal. I sent notice to the landlord that I would be vacating at the end of the period. Deposit already sacrificed in my head as the price of peace. Every confirmation email that landed in my inbox felt like a bolt tightening somewhere inside me. Not revenge, precision. I was not trying to destroy his life. I was removing myself from it. Halfway through, the pain in my ribs flared so sharp I had to grip the edge of the table and close my eyes. I took 3 deep, careful breaths, let the wave pass, and kept typing. When everything that mattered was in motion, I looked around the apartment. Without my things, it already felt emptier. Less like a home, more like a set waiting for the next episode. I grabbed a mostly unused notepad from the drawer and clicked a pen. On a clean page, I wrote one sentence. Hope the song was worth it. Go be her priority. No accusation, no curse, no long speech. Just the truth stripped down to its bare bones. I folded the note once and left it on the kitchen island propped against his laptop where he would see it first. When I wheeled my suitcase to the door, the bruises on my ribs screamed, but a different part of me felt strangely light. Marcus opened his front door on the first knock. He took in the suitcase, the overnight bag, the look on my face. "You did it," he said. "I do not like to drag things out," I replied. He stepped aside, letting me in. "Couch is yours," he said. "Blanket is clean. I will make grilled cheese." I have no idea what people are supposed to eat after a breakup and a car accident, but that seems safe. As I lay on his couch that night, the throbbing in my ribs a steady drumbeat, I pictured Derek walking into our apartment after his big night. He would push the door open, start talking to the air as usual, expecting an audience. He would stop when the silence hit him. No jacket on the hook, no boots by the door, no laptop open on the coffee table, no smell of dinner. Just his studio gear, Riley's toothbrush, and a note that did not care if he understood it or not. For the first time, he would feel what I had been living with for months. An absence where someone used to be. Derek did exactly what I expected him to do. He performed. Within hours of him discovering the empty apartment, my phone started buzzing. First came the texts. "Where did you go? You cannot just disappear like this. You are abandoning me. You are being cruel." Then came emails, long paragraphs about how unfair it was that I had walked out without closure. "You could have at least sat down and had an adult conversation," he wrote. The irony of that would have been funny if my ribs had not still been sore from actual adult consequences like car accidents. Then came voice messages. "You are being emotionally abusive, Elena," he said in one. His voice was high, thin, trembling with righteous anger. "Healthy people do not just cut someone off. This is toxic. This is what I warn my listeners about. You are proving my point." I did not respond to any of it. Not one word, not one emoji, not even the little dots that show you are typing. People think silence is passive. It is not. Silence is a decision. At work, I kept my head down. I showed up, I fixed problems, I answered emails. Marcus watched me like a hawk for signs that I was collapsing. I did not collapse. I was too busy moving forward in small, practical ways. A week after I moved into the tiny one-bedroom near the highway, Derek shifted tactics. If he could not get a response from me privately, he would reach for the one thing he truly valued, his audience. His Instagram filled with black and white photos of his face, eyes puffy looking off into the distance. Long captions about betrayal being excluded, healing from abandonment. Sometimes the person you would do anything for walks out without a word, he wrote under a photo where he looked like a sad model. Remember, their lack of closure is not a reflection of your worth. It is their weakness. He did not say my name. He did not have to. His followers flooded the comments. "You deserved better, King. Some women do not know how to handle a real man. She sounds toxic." Marcus showed me one of the posts during lunch. "You are officially the villain in his cinematic universe," he said, biting into a sandwich. I looked at the photo. Derek had his hand on his heart, eyes glistening with carefully lit pain. "He can have the role," I said. I quit that show. And yet, even as I shrugged, something in me stayed tight. My side still ached from the crash. My brain still replayed that phone call from the hospital. He was writing a story where I was the cruel one. Meanwhile, the data I held could slice that story apart. One night, sitting on the bare mattress in my new apartment with a single lamp and a cheap folding table as my only furniture, I opened my laptop and did something I had never done before. I opened Reddit. I had read posts there, of course. Stories about revenge, family drama, inheritance fights, wedding betrayals, Christmas disasters, sisters forgotten, brothers favored. People poured their secrets into those threads, hoping strangers would help them make sense of their pain. I had never posted until that night. I created a throwaway username and started typing. I did not use his name. I did not mention his channel. I did not add flair. I just told the story the way it happened. The ex who never fully left. The toothbrush. Thanksgiving. The car accident. The phone call where he chose her studio session over my hospital bed. Packing my things. Cutting the utilities. Leaving a note that said more in one line than he had in months of monologues. No adjectives, no insults, just facts. At the end, I wrote, I do not know if this counts as revenge, it just feels like waking up. Then I hit post. I closed the laptop and went to wash my dishes. I did not expect anything. I just wanted the weight of the story out of my body. By morning, the post had hundreds of comments. By evening, it had thousands. People from everywhere, all ages, all genders, telling me what I had already suspected but had not let myself believe. This is not dramatic, this is self-respect. You did not abandon him, he abandoned you first. Silence is not cruelty, sometimes it is survival. A few said I was heartless, that I should have given him another chance. Even those comments sounded less like criticism and more like regret from people who had stayed too long. Then someone commented, I think I know who this is. Is your ex a podcast guy who talks about healing all the time? Another user replied with a screenshot of Derek's page. If this is not him, it is his twin. Look at this caption about abandonment. The thread exploded. People lined up timelines, compared dates, matched phrases from my story to phrases he had used publicly. They did what the internet does best. They collected receipts. They pulled old clips of him talking about showing up for the people you love. They set those words next to my account of him choosing Riley's big night over my trauma. His comment sections started shifting, then turning. Under his latest post about being left without closure, people wrote, Is this about the woman you left in a hospital bed? Healing does not mean you get to be the victim in every story. Derek, are you going to address the post about you on Reddit? He tried to reply at first, short defensive comments. You do not know the full story. Do not believe everything you read. Then he stopped answering altogether. For once his favorite thing in the world, attention, was the same thing tearing his mask off. My revenge was not loud, it was simple. I had told the truth. And the truth was doing the rest. A few days after the Reddit thread blew up, our receptionist buzzed my office. There is someone here asking for you, Elena, she said. Her voice had that strained politeness people use when they are watching something uncomfortable happen in the lobby. Who, I asked, though I already knew. He says his name is Derek, she answered. I went to the window that overlooked the employee parking lot. There he was. Derek's car was parked crooked across two spaces, hazard lights blinking. He was pacing beside it, phone clutched in one hand, other hand running through his hair over and over. Even from up here, I could see he was performing his pain. Shoulders slumped just so, jaw clenched, eyes glassy. I took the elevator down. The January air bit at my cheeks. My ribs still twinged when I walked, but the pain was dull now, more memory than scream. As soon as Derek saw me, he rushed forward. You cannot do this, he said, voice cracking. You cannot just vanish and then drag me online like some monster. I did not use your name, I said. I did not send anyone to your page. You knew they would find me, he snapped. You knew. Now my followers are turning on me. Brand deals are backing away. Riley is freaking out. My parents are calling me, asking what I did. Do you have any idea what this is doing to my life? I looked at him, really looked. He was not upset that he had failed me. He was upset that other people knew he had failed me. You keep saying my life like I did this, I said quietly. I did not crash your car, Derek. I did not choose your ex's studio session over the hospital. I did not leave a woman in a bed full of wires so I could light candles for someone else's big night. That is not fair, he said. You said you were okay. You minimized it. I told you I was in the hospital, I said. You did the rest. You could have waited, he insisted. We could have talked. You could have told me what you needed. We could have gone to therapy. You do not just leave someone you love and blow up their reputation. You left first, I said. You left every time you chose Riley's emergencies over my real crises. I just refused to stand in the doorway and watch you walk out again. He laughed once, a sharp, bitter sound. You think they are going to believe your side? He asked. You think strangers on the internet know me better than you do. They know you as well as you let them, I said. I just filled in a few blanks. He stepped closer, dropping his voice. You are being cruel, Elena, he whispered. This is revenge. This is petty. This is exactly what I talk about on my channel. Women who punish instead of communicate. I felt something settle inside me like the last piece of a puzzle snapping into place. You built a brand on talking about betrayal and injustice, I said. You talk about family drama, inheritance being excluded from wills, Christmas fights, all the ways people hurt each other. This is just one story where you are not the wise narrator. You are the one who did the hurting. And you hate that more than anything. His face flushed. You will regret this, he said. One day you will look back and realize you pushed away the only person who truly loved you. Maybe, I said, but I would rather regret leaving than regret staying in a life where my boyfriend treats my car accident like a scheduling conflict. For a moment, we just stood there, breath steaming in the cold air. I could feel the receptionist's eyes on us through the glass doors. I could imagine my coworkers watching from the hallway. Derek opened his mouth, then closed it. He was not used to an audience that was not adoring. He was not used to losing control of the narrative. I turned and walked back toward the building. Behind me, he called my name louder, now voice fraying. Elena, come on, you cannot end it like this. We need closure. I did not stop. Inside, the receptionist's eyes were wide. Is everything okay? She whispered. Yes, I said. He is just realizing he is not the main character in my life anymore. Marcus was waiting near my office, arms crossed. Want to pretend that did not just happen? He asked. For once, no, I said. I am glad everyone saw it. I am tired of our story only existing inside his studio. At my desk, my phone buzzed with new notifications. People had clipped parts of Derek's meltdown in the parking lot. His raised voice, my calm answers. Someone had filmed from their car. By that evening, there were side-by-side edits. Clips of him preaching about showing up during a crisis, next to my quiet explanation that he had not. He had wanted closure. He got documentation instead. I thought the story was done when his public mask cracked. I was wrong. A week later, I woke to an email from a name I did not recognize. Subject line: I think we have something in common. The sender was a woman named Hannah Price. She introduced herself in the first line. You do not know me, but I know Riley. My stomach did not drop. Instead, something cold and unsurprised slid into place. Of course, Riley's chaos extended beyond my life. People like her do not run out of damage at one person. Hannah went on. I saw your post on Reddit. I recognized too many details. Riley has been borrowing money from people in the local music scene for years. Every time it is an emergency. Studio costs, equipment, an abusive landlord, medical bills. She promises to pay it back when a label deal comes through. The deal never comes. Attached were screenshots, messages where Riley told Hannah she was the only one who believed in her. Bank transfers labeled studio and emergency. Voice notes where Riley cried softly about her toxic family, about needing a chance to prove everyone wrong, about how she wished someone had fought for her the way Derek did. Hannah wrote, I am not the only one. There are at least 6 of us. Maybe more. I am putting the receipts together. I am planning to post everything. I thought you deserved a heads up. I stared at the screen. I owed Hannah nothing. She owed me nothing. We were strangers connected by someone else's manipulation. Still, I felt something like solidarity. Riley had turned family drama, betrayal, and injustice into her own kind of twisted inheritance, passing the bill to anyone who got close enough. Do it, I replied. Hannah sent one final line. Thank you for telling your story. It made me realize I did not have to keep protecting her. 2 days later, Hannah's post went live. Not on Reddit, on multiple platforms, a full detailed thread. She laid it out like a case file. Dates, screenshots, bank records, voice notes. Names and faces redacted except Riley's. Total amounts Riley had taken. The pattern of love bombing, crisis, cash ghosting. Music blogs picked it up. Local news stations sniffed around the story. People who had worked with Riley spoke up. Bar owners, sound techs. One woman said Riley had used a sob story about a sick grandmother to get out of paying for a recording session. The comments were brutal but not cruel. They were stunned, then angry, then protective of the people she had harmed. Within 24 hours, 2 venues canceled her upcoming shows. A third posted a statement about not tolerating financial exploitation in their community. Riley went dark online. Her accounts went private. Derek, who had built half his brand on championing her as this misunderstood artist rising from oppression, could not stay silent. After a day of no posts, he uploaded a black and white video. No music, just him in his studio, face drawn. Sometimes, he said, you think you know someone's heart and you do not. I have been deceived. I am taking time to process my own betrayal. Please do not come for me. I am hurting too. The comments did not give him the sympathy he wanted. So you did not know she was using people, but you knew you left your girlfriend in a hospital bed. Maybe this is karma. Tables turned, huh? I watched from my mattress laptop balanced on my knees, a mug of coffee cooling on the floor. I did not feel triumphant, I did not feel pity. I felt something like confirmation. The universe had not handed me some cinematic revenge where he lost everything overnight. But the same lack of discernment that made him choose Riley over me had finally caught up with him. He had aligned himself with someone whose entire life was built on secret manipulation. And when that truth came crashing down, he could not edit around it. After Riley's downfall, the noise around Derek's mess settled into a steady murmur. He lost some followers, gained others who loved a redemption arc. Brands paused, then quietly moved on. My life, meanwhile, shifted into something almost boring. I went to work. I fixed problems. My ribs healed. The bruise on my cheek faded. I signed the lease on a small single-story rental on the edge of town with peeling paint, a squishy couch left by the last tenants, and a garage. The garage was the part that felt like inheritance in the best sense, a gift I had given myself. Inside it sat an old navy blue pickup bought years ago with the intention of restoring it when we have time. Derek had complained about the noise when I first brought it home. It ruins my recording, he had said. Can you do this later? Later never came, until now. Now the truck sat in the center of my garage engine, halfway gutted parts laid out on a workbench. Every evening after work, I tied my hair up, pulled on an old hoodie, and lost myself in grease and bolts. There is something comforting about tightening a screw until it stops at exactly the right point. The engine did not care about my family's will or Riley's toothbrush or Derek's abandonment. It cared whether I was precise. Sometimes Marcus dropped by with fast food and commentary. "This truck is the healthiest relationship you have ever had," he said once, leaning against the door frame. "True," I said. "It does not gaslight me, and it does not ask me to film its morning routine." He laughed. "One day some man is going to walk into your life, see you elbow deep in grease, and either propose or run. That will sort them out nicely," I said. About a month after Hannah's exposé, an envelope showed up in my mailbox. Thick paper. My name on the front in Derek's looping handwriting. Of course he picked fancy stationery for an apology. Presentation was always his favorite part. I stood in my small kitchen, the afternoon light slanting through the blinds, and opened it. The letter was 3 pages long. He said he was sorry. He said he had been manipulated by Riley. He said he had been chasing validation because of his own family trauma, his own inheritance of neglect. He said he missed my calm, the way I made his life feel grounded. He said he had been in shock the night of my accident. He said he had not realized how badly he had hurt me until strangers started calling him out. He said a lot. What he did not say was the one thing that mattered most. He did not say I made a choice and it was wrong. He did not say I chose someone else's big night over your survival. He framed his failure as confusion, as being lost, as being wounded first. I read the whole thing once. Then I felt something loosen inside my chest. Not old love, not fresh hatred, just release. He had finally given me something I could put in a fire. That night, I took the letter out to the small patch of yard behind my rental. The previous tenant had left a rusted metal fire pit half buried in weeds. I brushed off the leaves and set the letter inside. The air was cold and still. Stars pricked the dark sky, faint behind the glow of the city. I lit a match and held it over the paper. This is for me, not you, I thought. Then I dropped the match. The corner of the letter curled as the flame caught. The ink bled, words warping as the paper browned, then blackened. I watched until the pages folded in on themselves, the last trace of his looping script disappearing into ash. The back gate creaked. Marcus stepped into the yard holding 2 beers. He stopped when he saw the fire pit. "So this is what closure looks like," he said. "Looks like yard work," I answered. He handed me a bottle. "To what are we toasting?" he asked. "To distance," I said. "To distance," he echoed, clinking his bottle gently against mine. We stood there shoulder to shoulder, watching the last embers glow. "You okay?" he asked after a while. "I am," I said. And this time it was true. He studied my face for a second, making sure. Then he smirked. "You know he is going to post about this," he said. "In 6 months there will be an episode called When She Burns Your Apology Letter." I said. This was not content. It was a trash pickup. Marcus laughed, deep and genuine. "Remind me never to get on your bad side," he said. "Just do not forget me at the hospital," I replied. He sobered slightly, his gaze steady. "Noted," he said. We went back inside, leaving the ashes to cool in the quiet. By morning, the wind had scattered them. Nothing left to read. Nothing left to rewrite. 6 months passed. Not in a cinematic montage, but in the slow, stubborn way life really moves. My bruises faded to faint yellow smudges, then vanished. My sides stopped aching when I sneezed. At work, I got promoted. Quietly, without ceremony. My boss closed my office door, told me the regional director had noticed how I handled that winter's chaos. More money, more responsibility, the same calm. My parents' drama over my grandmother's will still simmered. My brother still lived in her old house. At Easter, my mother pulled me aside and said, "You are too stubborn. Sometimes you have to overlook things for family." I looked at her and saw my own mistake reflected back. I had overlooked things for love. It had not turned those things into anything but what they were. Betrayal is not less painful because you excuse it. I went home early, made myself a simple dinner in my own kitchen, and sat on my own couch in my own small house, thinking about how many women my age and older stayed in situations where they were excluded, manipulated, or talked over just because walking away felt like a betrayal of some invisible rule. Leaving had felt like betrayal. Now it felt like inheritance. The kind you built for yourself because no one had left you anything worth holding. In the evenings, the truck in my garage slowly came back to life. I replaced hoses, cleaned connections, swapped out the fuel pump, sanded rust, painted over old scars. Grease got under my fingernails, streaked my forearms. I did not mind. The engine's low rumble the first time it turned over properly made my chest swell in a way no video of Derek's had ever done. Sometimes on weekends, I left the garage door open. Neighbors walking their dogs would slow down and watch. Some waved. A few asked questions about the truck. No one asked me to turn down the noise. No one asked if my work could wait because someone else had feelings. One afternoon, a car pulled into my driveway. A silver SUV I did not recognize. The woman who stepped out was tall, with dark hair pulled back in a low bun and a small scar near her left eyebrow. She smiled a little uncertain. "Elena?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I am Hannah," she said. "We emailed about Riley." We sat on the front steps, legs stretched out, the scent of oil and cut grass floating around us. She told me more of her story. How she had loaned Riley money for a last chance album, after Riley told her a heartbreaking story about being excluded from her own grandmother's will. My breath caught at that. What are the odds, I thought? Or maybe people like Riley and Derek all pull from the same sad script. Family drama that may or may not be real, used to pry open generous hearts. She knew exactly which words to use, Hannah said. Inheritance, betrayal, toxic parents, empty promises. She knew I had my own scars there. I gave her more than I could afford. "And she never paid you back," I said. "Not a cent," Hannah replied. When I pushed, she called me selfish, said I cared more about money than her art. Sound familiar? I nodded. We talked for almost 2 hours. Not just about them, but about ourselves. Our families, our jobs, the ways we had been taught to be the reasonable one, the fixer, the calm center of everyone else's drama. Before she left, Hannah walked into the garage and ran a hand lightly along the truck's fender. "You name her yet?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "What?" "Freedom," I answered. Hannah smiled, a soft, genuine curve of her mouth. "That tracks," she said. After she drove away, I stood in the garage, wiping my hands on a rag, looking at the truck. Freedom. Not revenge, not payback, just the steady ability to go where I wanted without asking permission, without apologizing. A vehicle I had rebuilt myself piece by piece. The truck was ready by late summer. The day I took it for its first real drive, the sky arched wide and blue over the highway. The fields along the road shimmered in heat. Marcus came over to witness the maiden voyage. He whistled low when he saw the truck. "You did it," he said. "You actually finished something you started for yourself." "Do not sound so surprised," I said. He walked around Freedom, slowly taking in the clean lines, the fresh paint, the way the chrome caught the light. "You even picked the same color as your old car," he said. "You sentimental or just lazy?" "Consistent," I said. He rolled his eyes. "Get in," I added. We drove with the windows down, wind whipping our hair, the radio crackling old rock songs. As the miles rolled under us, the last lingering tension in my chest eased. At a red light, my phone buzzed in the cup holder. A notification from an app I barely opened anymore. Suggested post Derek Cole. Curiosity made me tap it. There he was on a beach somewhere, shirt partly unbuttoned, sun behind him. Caption: "Healing never stops. Choose love. Choose light." Same angle, same practice squint, new location. I looked at the date, less than an hour ago. He had survived his public fall. Of course he had. People like him float. There is always another audience hungry for a story. I stared at the screen for a second. Not angry, not wistful, just tired. Then I opened his profile, scrolled once through the familiar feed, and hit block. I deleted his contact from my phone. No dramatic music, no speech. Just one small final decision. Freedom is not just a truck in my garage. It is not just a rental house with my name on the lease. It is the absence of certain names in my phone, certain voices in my head. I put the phone back in the cup holder. Marcus glanced over. "Everything good?" he asked. "Better," I said. The light turned green. I pressed the gas. Freedom rolled forward smooth and sure. Here is the part of the story that would bore Derek's audience. There is no big twist. No sudden lottery win, no dramatic confrontation at a wedding, no inheritance changing hands in some wood-paneled office with a shocked gasp. Just ordinary days. I woke up early, made coffee, packed my lunch. I went to work and said no more often. I stopped letting family drag me into the old will drama. When my mother tried to talk about how unfair it all was, I listened, then said, "You are allowed to be hurt. I am allowed not to fix it." I spent Saturdays in my yard pulling weeds, repainting the front door. I put a simple wreath up at Christmas just because it made me happy. I took freedom out on long drives through the countryside, watching the seasons shift. Wheat fields turned to stubble, leaves blazed red and gold, then fell. Snow dusted the road, melted again. Sometimes I drove out past the city line, turned off on a side road, and parked on a hill to watch the sunset. No playlist curated for an audience, no phone propped up filming my healing journey. Just me, the quiet, and the hum of an engine I had rebuilt. Revenge, if you want to call it that, lived in the fact that my life no longer revolved around someone else's content calendar. That I could sit in the middle of my own small living room with its mismatched couch and secondhand coffee table and feel more at peace than I had ever felt in Derek's carefully curated studio. That I could say no and mean it to my family, to bosses trying to pile extra work on me, to anyone who tried to treat my calm as an invitation to take. There were still hard days, days when I missed the idea of a partner, when I wondered if I had overreacted, if maybe I should have given Derek one more chance. Then I would remember the sound of his voice over the music that night. "Babe, I cannot bail on Riley now." "Not on me, on her." And the doubt would evaporate. One evening in early fall, Hannah texted me a link. Apparently, Derek had posted a new episode titled "When She Leaves Without a Word." "That man is determined to milk this forever," she wrote. I clicked, watched the first 2 minutes. He sat in his studio, eyes serious, saying all the right things. "I made mistakes," he said. "I did not show up. I let old trauma color my choices. I chose the wrong people. I lost someone amazing." It almost sounded honest. But underneath I heard it. The familiar hum of performance. The subtle way he shifted blame to his past, to Riley, to his wounds, so he could still be the main character in the healing story. I closed the video. "This chapter is over," I texted Hannah. "He can have the reruns." She sent back, agreed. "Then you ever think about telling your story out loud? Like, for real, women need to hear this." I thought about the older women in my life, my mother, my aunts, my co-workers in their 50s and 60s, who had survived cheating husbands' unfair wills, brothers who took everything, sisters who lied, parents who put sons first, partners who treated them like background characters, women who thought walking away at 55 or 60 was pointless, like their chance at revenge or justice had expired with their youth. "I am telling it," I replied, "just not the way he does." There is power in a story told without a camera. In a woman my mother's age hearing mine and realizing it is not too late to choose herself. In a grandmother sitting at Thanksgiving and deciding she will not repeat the favoritism that broke her own children. In the quiet revenge of descendants who refuse to perpetuate the same family drama, the same inheritance of silence and self-blame. If you are still here listening to this, maybe you are wondering where the big twist is. Maybe you are waiting for me to say, "Derek showed up at my door in the rain," that Riley apologized, that my parents rewrote the will, that we all sat around a Christmas tree and forgave each other. That is not this story. This is the story of a woman who was almost killed by a stranger's bad decision on black ice and realized the man she loved had been making bad decisions about her for a long time. This is the story of a quiet revenge that looked like logging into utility accounts, canceling a phone line, and walking out. The story of a public mask cracking because the truth slipped out of a private life and into a world that still sometimes cares about justice. The story of an ex-boyfriend who built a brand on betrayal and healing and became for a moment the villain in the kind of narrative he used to control. The story of an ex-best friend who turned other people's compassion into her own private inheritance until the receipts piled up higher than her excuses. It is the story of a truck rebuilt in a garage by a woman who had finally decided that her time and energy were better spent tightening bolts than fixing broken men. Most of all, it is the story of peace. Not quiet because you are walking on eggshells. Not the silence that comes after a slammed door and a threat. Loud peace. The kind that hums under your hands when you grip a steering wheel and know you are the one driving. The kind that makes your heart beat steady when your phone lights up with a message from the past and you feel nothing but mild annoyance. The kind that lets you sit at a table with your complicated family, listen to the same old stories about inheritance and favoritism and wedding fights and betrayal, and know you are no longer obligated to fix any of it at the cost of yourself. Revenge does not have to be dramatic to count. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is a life that no longer includes the person who underestimated you. A life where your story is not a backdrop for someone else's healing journey, but the main narrative told in your own words at your own pace. So if you are listening to this and something in your chest aches with recognition, if you are thinking about your own Derek or your own Riley or your own family drama over a will or a forgotten Christmas, hear me clearly. You are allowed to leave the room where you keep being cast as the villain for asking to be seen. You are allowed to turn your silence into a boundary instead of a punishment. You are allowed to build something new, anything just for yourself. A truck, a garden, a small business, a quiet apartment where no one yells over you in the name of content. And if stories like mine help you feel less alone, if they give you even a little bit of courage to choose your own version of freedom, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling me what part of this story hit home for you. Subscribe if you want more real revenge, not the dramatic kind with broken windows and screaming matches, but the kind built on integrity boundaries and the hard decision to walk away. Because sometimes the tables do not turn with a slam. Sometimes they turn when you stand up, push your chair back, and quietly leave the table altogether. That is my revenge. Peace so loud they cannot pretend not to hear it.